Hi, I'm Sophie Ainsworth and you're watching the home of the British Sailing Team TV channel. We had some great action on the water yesterday. It was flat and light, but the 2.4s got a second and a first. So she's leading, got a 4-point lead at the moment. The Dutch is in second. The French sailor got a first in the first race, but was disqualified due to a starting incident in the second race. So he could be a contender later in the week. In the scuds, they also got a second and a first, and they're leading at the moment on tied points with the Australians. The Sonar's got a fourth and an eighth. Bit of a tough start to the regatta. They won the start in the second race, but they put in a protest for redress because the race committee kept the X flag up for 16 seconds after the boat that was over course side was completely on the pre-start side of the start line. So they made a delayed decision to go back to the start line, which affected their result, and they had to play catch-up for the rest of the regatta. But the international jury were not satisfied that the race committee error made GBR's finishing position significantly worse through no fault of their own. Today's weather, it's a generally overcast day with potential for it to rain. It'll be 17 to 15 degrees Celsius with 10 to 12 knots of wind and a westerly breeze direction. This could make racing quite tight. Today I'm joined by Debbie Blatchford, the RYA Sailability Manager. Debbie, could you tell us a bit about the Sailability programme?
Yeah, it's a really successful programme, a growing one. We've got something like 37,000 disabled sailors out there around the UK sailing, and something like 10,000 volunteers. What we offer is a place to learn to sail and learn to race at various levels of accessibility. So you can find a site that suits you. If you need a hoist, you find a site with a hoist. If you're visually impaired, you can pick a site where the volunteers are trained to work with you. But it is expanding, which is great news. And what we're really keen to do now is get more people onto the racing pathway, looking at the future in the next Olympics and Paralympics.
How do disabled sailors progress into racing?
Well, what they do, they start maybe with the sailability group or their local club. They can learn to sail properly, and then they can learn to race. And then there's the option of joining a class association and joining their traveller series, going around the country, doing different events, going to our national events. And while they're doing that, we're actually looking to see who's got the talent. We've got a really good development coach, so he's out there talent spotting as well. And then sometimes we find people from other sports that we can fast track straight in and connect them with a boat, a really fast boat to begin with. So we get some good ambassadors as well.
What challenges do sailors face?
So, disabled sailors face a lot more challenges, especially when they get to higher competition, because it isn't just you going to the event. You usually have to take a helper, maybe a carer, a volunteer who actually helps you rig the boat, get on the water. So suddenly the cost goes up. And a lot of disabled people don't work, so you're not just paying for one, you're paying for two. There's the challenges of getting there, the challenges of finding accessible sites, and also hotel accommodation. Again, you're paying for two people. Is the hotel accessible? Can you get in there? So a lot more challenges, and for the youngsters, they're into education. They're out there getting their degrees and trying to merge the sailing in as well, and need parental support for that. So sometimes it's hard to get the extra support to do the events as well.
And how do people get involved?
It's really easy. They can go to the RWAY website and find your nearest centre. And again, you can just type in what sort of needs that you have and look for a place that will cope with your ability and go along. They're really, really friendly. All our sites have got trained volunteers, so they're used to working alongside disabled people. It's all people working together, it's all partnership, rather than the disabled sailor and the volunteer. Everybody does it together, so it's a really successful way of getting into it. And then, you can progress. Some people just want to do leisure sailing, but other people are really keen. They see the fast boats and think, well, that's for me. I've got that dream, I've got that mission, and I want to be on that Paralympic team.
And tell us about the sailability sites.
The sailability sites, again, very, very varied sites. Some of them operate 5 days a week, very professionally. lots of volunteers. I think our biggest group has 300 regular members, which is quite often bigger than your local dinghy club anyway. Others slightly less, but they're all very successful. 170 sites you can choose from in the UK. There's also sites in Northern Ireland, and we've now branched internationally as well with sites in Hong Kong and Dubai, so it's really spreading.
How can people come and experience sailability in Weymouth?
They come to the beach. The Arway is running sailing from the beach with catamarans. We've also got some specialist boats down there for people who may need that little bit of extra help with mobility. So if they turn up at the Arway stand down there by the pavilion, they can book in and try a session. And the instructors are all really experienced. We've already had a lovely youngster with cerebral palsy on the water yesterday, and it was absolutely fantastic. And it just shows what you can do, because, you know, we've got one sailor who races in a Liberty and Access dinghy, and on shore he can't do anything. He has two carers. On the water he can steer and sheet the boat just using a little device with his tongue, and he is totally independent and he races really well, and he's going to be one to watch for the future.
Why is sailing such a fantastic sport for disabled people?
I think with the amount of adaptions we can use these days in boats, it's very much a level playing field. Again, you know, the guy who can steer with his tongue, it makes him just like anybody else. So he's independent. And
how do people get involved?
Find their local sailability group. That's the easiest way to get involved, you know, first of all. So RYA site, find my nearest sailability centre, and give them a call, and they'll get a really good welcome.
Great, thanks Debbie. Remember to keep commenting on Facebook. The sailors really appreciate the good luck messages. Follow us on Twitter, but most of all, stay tuned. I'll be back at the same time tomorrow to bring you all the news from today's racing. I'm Sophie Ainsworth, and you've been watching the home of the British Sailing Team TV channel.